I am so happy to have you, Iliana, on with us today. Many times we meet our guests for the first time on the podcast, um, but you are one of the individuals that we know and love. So I'm grateful to have you on board with us today. But let's bring our audience together with us. Let's give them a little bit of an introduction of who you are and what you do.
Well, Ari, thank you so much for having me. And it was nice meeting with you prior to this meeting. Kind of unexpected, right? We're always in a journey that everything happens for a reason. So thank you for having me on your platform. I'm Iliana Sutton. I'm the owner of two LLCs, both involved in working in our underserved communities. One under language access umbrella, and the other one is fully a workforce training entity as well. And I like to say we like to encourage those to dream and dream big. And we offer career paths in knocking down all those barriers. So that's really what it is, our journey and our passion is, and what we do in this world.
So I want to break this down because we love what you do because we think it's so important. And let's start with what's the problem. So what is the pain that the community is experiencing? Let's start there.
Equal opportunity has always been a hot topic ever since I was born in the 73s, back in California where it was hippie day, everyone loved everyone. Even back then, there was always some kind of barrier thrown for those that we called overlooked communities, right? Individuals that look like myself and different various of colors. And what we're seeing now in 2024 with our recent events that we've had is that, the barriers still exist. Individuals can only climb the ladder to a certain extent in their job positions. And economy isn't allowing us any room to navigate rental costs, transportation, childcare. So all of those barriers still exist times 500, right, from in the past. But now the opportunities is challenging to be able to get individuals to really listen to those opportunities because so many times people of many different backgrounds, many professional hats go to these communities and share their initiatives. And then months later, they hear crickets. And so, that it's a barrier trying to open up those career opportunities in an equal platform all the way from our IT, which we know cybersecurity, IT, anything to do with security and IT, it's the it, right? But now we're hearing more about manufacturing. We got to give you equal opportunity, meaning that from the time you check in, can you understand what your procedures are in a language that you understand, right? And then we have our soft skill, our office administrator. That soft skills, who doesn't need a uplift in their soft skills
Right.
as well? So for me, all those barriers there from having to drive are still valid. Childcare are still valid. And, sometimes us even having a virtual platform, laptops can be challenging.
Right.
Wi-Fi can be challenging, right?
Right.
As well. So, we try to cut out all of those barriers as best as we can, but there's still obstacles in our workforce.
Right. And here's why we love Iliana so much, because I think a lot of people, talk the big talk and get very political, but the truth is it's complicated. There are so many barriers in allowing an individual in a community to be successful. And if you really look at those barriers, what are they and how to challenge them? That's what Iliana is doing. And we talked about a few of them, right? It's the ability to be successful with technology. It's understanding of security, which is becoming increasingly important. We hear about hacks all the time. I just got a list, I'm on a list for some hack that happened with my social security. These elements is really, it's removing barriers for individuals in a community to be successful. That's what it's about. This is not political grandstanding. This is helping individuals be successful. It's so important. And on the other hand, and this is, you haven't mentioned this yet, so I'm going to mention it for you. There's a place for companies to be involved. And this is the apprenticeship program. And that's the other side, right? You want to have the individuals enabled to success, but the companies can get involved. Tell us about how that happens. What does
Yeah.
that look like?
And so for me to know that I can impact all the way from the beginning LLC that has one employee that are employed through the tax federal umbrella, or to help a 500 fortune company, an employer can take advantage of the training for free. The DOL sets up a lot of state, federal, private fundings there available for an employer to say, hey, I need you now, buddy, to learn cybersecurity because I need you to make sure our accounts aren't going to get hacked, our bank accounts aren't going to get hacked. You have an eye for IT, and now I'm going to offer this to you, Bob, and now I'm going to even give you an opportunity to get a national certification for free under your employee blanket, right? I mean, it's an awesome opportunity for a 500 fortune company who is trying to save bucks, as we all are, right? Let's just be transparent. No matter small or big, it's always about the end result of your budget and revenue. And if you can save money and offer professional training, because apprenticeship is really a high level of professionalism training. Our curriculum, we just don't say this is what we're going to teach. There's standards already built through the federal government there. And then we have to submit our curriculum on how are we going to meet those standards by our teaching. And some states even require us to train as adult educators and take special modules in order for us to even become providers. So when we work with employers, I like to say at least AHA knows what they're doing. We come from a business background, and it can be utilized, like I said, from a small company that might open up their businesses and have Suzanne in their front end and know that that's going to be their person that walks in and everyone says hello. Then maybe that person needs an opportunity to better their soft skills, their communication, their marketing, because in 2024, we hear about AI, right? And a lot of people get shaky. Oh my God, AI is going to take our job. I might as well just retire now.
Right.
I always like to say, and I'm reminded by my colleagues in the AI world, it's not that AI is going to take your job. It's that you not learning about AI is going to put you back in being able to climb that that ladder. And for those reasons, because I like to say I'm an innovator, I want to make sure that our community is listening to the messages that we're sharing and taking this opportunity from the community apprentice to our employers, because this is a huge opportunity to
Beautiful.
change your business structure as a whole, to become not just an employer, to become an empowerment employer, an employer that people want to be hired because you're going to give them the opportunity for education. Because if you go on apprenticeship.gov, all the way from tattoo artist certifications to art to manufacturing to IT to cleaning, you name it, it is available. And it all is because you connect with individuals that have apprenticeships that need employers to make them make the dreams come true.
Let me say this in a way that is super clear. Companies are leaving money on the table. End of story.
End of
And
story.
and by understanding, this can be a tool to help with onboarding new employees. This can be a tool to help upskill your existing employees, right? So these are both paths to success. But at the end of the day, your point about AI is not clear. This is a really important point. I think a lot of people see AI. I had somebody say, "Oh, AI is going to, take our babies. It's going to eat their heads, whatever, right? It's scary. It's the devil." Well, both you and I have a different perspective on it. It's the railroad, it's the internet, it's the hammer, it's the chainsaw. It's a tool. Now, that tool, you can do evil with a hammer, or you can build a house with a hammer, right? You can do good. And I think if we learn how to use this new tool, then instead of it taking us, I write and I write, and the grammar isn't perfect. Now I can hire somebody to help me with the grammar, and I can wait maybe 3 or 4 days for them to do that. That's going to cost me money. Or I put what I wrote into ChatGPT and I say, rewrite this for grammar. That's it. Now
That's it.
I have dyslexia, so that is a huge value for me to be successful. It's my ideas, it's my content, it's all me, but AI helped me generate high quality results, which I would need somebody else to take a look at it and see if there's a spelling mistake or a grammatical error.
Right.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's for a small business like myself, which I'm transparent and I am a big promoter of ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT daily. And the reason I'm successful is because I have those visions and I have that ability to content create. And I'm kind of like you. I use it to finalize, make add a little bit of humor, make it a little bit more professional. My spelling in both English and Spanish suck. But I have a high level of comprehension in both languages. And, some people that we still meet that have high levels, there are fear of using ChatGPT, especially in an educational structure or a government structure. Why? Because of the federal, or there's not a policy.
right,
And coming from a federal mind where everything kind of goes through all my federal regulations and laws out there, it's the way that someone is sharing what ChatGPT. I've heard stories of someone saying, I tried to use ChatGPT after my training and I was frustrated.
right,
No, ChatGPT is meant for you to argue with, right?
right. That's right.
And it's funny, I tell everyone I have a love-hate relationship
That's
with
right.
ChatGPT and I
We need
have
to
to,
we need to explain this. So this is so important, and in fact, I would say what you just described is an insight that most people don't fully understand. So the expectation is that you come to ChatGPT, you tell it to do something, and it just does it, and it's perfect. And then what people have as their experience is that they come into it, they ask for it to, and it's like, well, that's not what I want. You tell it that's not what you want. You explain why, it tries again. So you think about ChatGPT as an intern almost that will go and do work for you. But instead of it taking 3, 4 hours, 3 days to do it, it takes seconds. So you
yes,
do your description of love hate. It's wonderful because you develop this relationship of communication where you're enriching it and it is enriching you. And
yes.
you
And
gain that skill.
you do, and it's available 24 hours a day, even though I suggest people do not work in the wee hours of the night
That's right.
unless those are your working hours because you make more mistakes and you wake up in the morning and kick yourself for even posting things like that in the wee hours of the morning. But we are a true believer of AI and Chat GPT. I was actually in a meeting yesterday and learned about 4 different other AI apps that I'm so excited to be able to AI my videos and all that good stuff as well. I tell everyone I'm always a beginner, but I'm never in the back of things. I
Right.
like to either stay in front of things or right in line with what is happening because I'm a small business, right? I have a lot of I tell everyone you never know who's looking your way. And I do know that people look my way. If only the looks and all of the great jobs would turn into funding, we would be ready to rock and roll and open up everything to the universe. But sometimes that is just not part of our journey. But
Right.
yes, AI is a great tool, and I tell everyone don't be scared of it. And if you are, connect with me. I'll do one-on-one sessions, and
Right.
I don't have a marketing IT chat AI degree, but I can tell you I'm pretty skilled in the chat GPT area.
Right. And I mean, that's such a wonderful example because it's a skill that is new. It's something that's not out in the marketplace. I heard a government official who was talking to me saying, we don't know what to do with this. We don't know how to train our workforce. We don't know how to take this. But, right. But here we are talking about the solution. We need these training programs that the government is funding anyway, right, through
Yeah,
apprenticeship programs in order to empower our workforce, not to replace them, but to make them better, faster. And,
yeah.
and that's going to make an individual, right, in a community more successful than an individual who doesn't empower him or herself through studying, learning,
Mhm.
and participating in these programs.
Yeah, and,
It's
and and part of being an innovator, I think when we first started in the apprenticeship world, I already knew about the world of federal language access compliancy. So I thought ahead of the game. In every training that we offer, we stuck in a 40-hour medical, or sorry, a 40-hour language access training, and as well as some soft soft skill training in
Right.
all of our apprenticeship because you need to know about language access, you need to know about soft skills, but we also are now able to adapt a little bit about ChatGPT. So every student that comes in has an opportunity and has to create a ChatGPT because I'm not the kind of person that's going to say, no, you can't use ChatGPT, but I'm going to show you how to use it with ethical guidelines. And, we're lovers of ChatGPT.
That's absolutely. Tell us more about the language aspect of this. And you and I have talked a lot, but let's bring the audience in. What is the problem with language? Why do we need language training at all?
You know, I always say it's a federal guideline. It's a federal, guideline. It's a Title 6 guideline out there of language access that any federal organization that receives federal funding must provide language access services, meaning some kind of either phone, a face-to-face person, something, a document, something for them to be able to communicate properly, right? But in reality, it's because we're human. We need to be able to communicate with basic hello, how are you? We're not saying you need to be proficient, but if you're in the business world, why would you not want to be able to communicate and say, hello, my name is, I don't speak no more, thank you, he he. That's going to gain you so much more leverage than it is you being proficient in rolling out a presentation in
Right.
front of them, is what I found. But in reality, depending on what field you're in, let's start with medical. Medical is life and death. That's the area that I've learned my federal guideline was being absorbed for 10 years under the medical language umbrella, right? There's no gray line, right? Then you have your finance companies. You're dealing with people's finances. A lot of smaller, diverse companies are now ran by individuals that can't speak English. We're not just talking about Spanish, we're talking about so many languages out there that you would be amazed to go into different states and find out, oh my God, what? They're speaking what language here? I've never heard of that language, right? Before. Then you go ahead and move into the manufacturing business. You talk about OSHA, chemical, fires, line delays, manufacturing revenue costs as well. Then you talk about the regular community who works in the community. You're dealing with social service problems. You're dealing with things that a mother might need for their child.
Right.
And then you talk about our DHS and all those government organizations that they're required to provide services. So it's not that we are making things up. It's that in every area, this federal umbrella falls under, and how you are compliant is based on who's ever running that organization.
Right.
And so we're not here to say it's a must. We're just reminding you that we don't want to see you caught up in the lep.gov website by being fined thousands of dollars because Marianne said that your bilingual interpreter, which I always suggest have a language assessment for all your bilinguals and a working language assessment because I don't want to hire Marianne, who says she's fluent in Spanish, but she's been a waiter or she's been in a whole nother field, and now I'm shifting her into education.
Right.
Why should I think that she's proficient in that working
So
terminology?
let's talk about this. This is incredibly important because we think about, oh, language, we think about, oh, a language that I don't know, such as Spanish, French, Arabic. But there's professional languages, and that's really what you're talking about. And having the ability to understand terminology in the professional language, in some cases, can be the difference between life and death. In others, can just be the ability to work and be successful in that industry. So this is more than just languages as we see them at face value.
Right. I mean, I agree. And like I said, it's not you being proficient. And we're not just in our trainings, we just don't teach you to be proficient. If you want to be proficient in your working terminology, then we'll customize that. But what we want to make sure is that you understand how to provide services to someone that needs you to provide services. What does that really look like for a professional interpreter? Because a lot of people don't realize that if you're claiming you're any kind of interpreter, then I would check, have you had your 40-hour minimal compliancy? Just compliancy alone tells you where to stand, what to do, how to reflect if someone says something negative. What if the provider or the CEO says something inappropriately? How do you handle that? Better yet, how do you handle when a terminology comes your way that you have no idea, right? And we talk about this as consecutive interpreting and simultaneous interpreting because they're two different skill sets, and not everyone can do both. And we're not even talking about translation because
Right.
that's a whole nother skill, but verbally communication in either your native language or the English language that is the native language in the United States of America. A lot of businesses have it in policies that you're only allowed to speak English in their departments, more corporate, Walmart, JB Hunt, all the bigger manufacturers, they have a little bit more leeway because they have departments within their own organizations that they have to speak that language every day to their clients. So
Mm.
if you walk by their department and you hear them speaking, it's less offensive. You won't get to feeling some kind of way as if you are in a normal work environment where how many times I know I've been part of this where you walk through a group and they're talking a language and then they get quiet when you come in,
Right.
right? Negative thoughts go through your head right away. They were talking about me. So it's one of those things, once again, it's just sharing the knowledge in hopes that everyone will utilize it for their best interest.
Wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. I think there's so many opportunities for both, you know, the community who are seeking a job, seeking to embetter themselves, or just get, a promotion or move to the next level in their current environment, in addition to companies who are looking to be successful with their workforce. This is such a great opportunity to take advantage of and not leave money on the table. I have a wrap-up question to ask you. When you look at these companies going through their journey, working with you or honestly any other provider, creating apprenticeship programs, what are the big pitfalls?
I think mindset, honestly, it's mindset. Our challenge is to change the mindset of the decision maker to allow us to empower them. When you get used to not being comfortable or not wanting to try something new because maybe a state had an initiative and rocked it for 6 months and then after that no one, it was like crickets, right? We're coming back in and saying, wait a minute, tell us what you want us to do. And it's a mindset, it's a trust, and everyone has to be ethical in what they want, right? I think those are key skills or traits that we look when we meet with partners because we just don't pick up the Rolodex and cold call your company. We do all of our media, our marketing, whatever you want to call it, in order to attract those individuals like yourself that are interested to learn and collaborate because everyone throws that word collaboration.
Hmm.
But when you really get down to meeting with a decision maker, you have to remember that either a 500 fortune company or a small business, it's a gamble for them to take. Yes, you're going to save them money, but sometimes they don't know you, right? I've been in business for about 10 and a half years, in the apprenticeship world now for about 5 years myself, out there, live events, proclamation, government stamp, youth apprentice, and I can tell you I can walk in a room and no one knows who the heck I am.
Hmm.
I don't expect them to know who I am, but I do expect the opportunity to be able to share all the awesome things that we do as a small business, but just to listen of the opportunity that a apprenticeship model can
Right.
do. And it's when you talk about something in a way where you take out the political, you
Right.
take away your past views, and you take away your views even after you clock out. I think that makes that those are the obstacles that are in front is us just being able to get that good feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Those goosebumps. And if you don't
Right.
get those goosebumps, I'm okay with it. But please share what it is that we're doing to the next person who needs to hear what we're doing.
Right.
Don't hold on to it for yourself and say, oh, when we have a need, we'll come back to you. Because those things just don't happen that way.
Right. I mean, this is so important, and this is, this concept, right? The core problem is that there are many ways to become successful in the labor force, so to speak. And, sure, you can go get a 3-4 year degree, but there are many other opportunities of on-the-job training, is really what it is. And the hypothesis behind this is that if we can give the employees the training that they need, the new knowledge that they need to be successful, then the professional word that's used in government is upskilling, right? We upskill them, and then they're driving more value to themselves, to the corporation, than they could before. This is not about a political view. This is about solving a problem, as you said. So
Yes.
there's no side of politics that should look at this and say, oh no, I don't agree with this. It's as simple as diving into the details, finding the problem, providing a solution, providing the training, upskilling the team, the community, so they can be bring home that salary that they need to feed their children, educate their children, support their significant others,
Right.
and live a good life.
And let me just also share that, you know, it's not always about the underserved community, although the DOL initiative really wants you to focus on those communities that need the most. But, now in 2024, we got corporate tapping into apprenticeship programs, nonprofit, education, law enforcement, and even those that are getting from incarceration. I think DOL, what attracted me as well was easy guidelines. And this is just a guideline, and everyone out there can manipulate and add on to the guidelines. But basic guidelines are, depending on what state, our apprenticeships start at 16 or older, no GED or high school diploma, because we're partnered up with the state of Missouri. But all the rest of our partnership in other states, we're required 18, GED or high school diploma. Of course, you have to be able to show that you can work in the United States, and Department of Labor requires you to employ them for a full-time status. Of course, if you're working with Youth Apprentice, by law, you cannot work them. So it's kind of a give or take. You have to extend their graduation date and
Mm,
make sure that you're documenting everything
mm,
correctly.
mm,
So, I mean, I don't know what other employer coming out of being 16 as a single mom, I meet organizations. There's an organization in Cleveland, Young Moms of Cleveland. Owner is a ex-felon who came out and saw a big need. And what she's doing now, she's working with those young moms that are in incarceration and they get out. And now she's giving them a place to stay and hopefully being able to upskill them with our collaboration. She's actually even part of our apprenticeship training herself because she needs to upskill her management skills as well. So there's no I don't take no for an answer.
I
I
love it.
really believe apprenticeship model is there and it's there for a reason. And all this time we know that colleges are there for those that can and are wanting and be successful. But I also know that I meet a lot of individuals with a lot of
Mm,
major degrees that can't have a basic conversation without turning red or looking at the ground, and
right.
they're in debt. And a lot of them don't even use their degrees in what their passion. And I like to share as I'm providing the initiative, I always like to remember, what is your dream? Dream big because I dream big. And if you can't start out dreaming big, I will help you start dreaming because I believe that we've gotten forgotten how to dream and we've kind of been programmed in our robotic what we did before, what we've had to do. But life is too short to not be innovative, right? Innovating to me is just adventurous, meaning that you're taking a chance for everything that's coming up. And if you can't live life in a balance, then I always tell everyone step back and check yourself. And maybe it's time to dream and dream a little bit bigger and know that we're here as this business of mine as a mission and our passion. We're not in it for the killer money. Yes, we're SAM providers, we're WildWare and we're registered, but if we had, like I said, a golden ticket for every positive comment we had, or even negatives, because our ride hasn't been smooth at all. I mean, we've gone through these trenches here and there. We have our good days, our bad days, and our ugly days as well. That's a whole nother conversation as well.
Iliana,
But uh,
with your permission, the passion in comes across so powerfully that you believe and love what you're doing. May I ask your permission to share with the audience a little bit about your personal story? Why did you get into this? Why is this so close to your heart?
Well, I was a young mom. I was, first Salvadoran American born in LA back in the 70s. My parents' goal was to live the American dream. They obtained their first house in South Central, primarily African American. We were the only Hispanics there. I remember sitting by our fence and watching all those stories that you hear about the drug dealers in their car and those heavy music. That was me. Everybody used to see this little girl standing by their fence line while all the guys sat in the morning and talked, and they would all say good morning, hey, what's up, at a small age. So I was very observant, and came from a structured home. My parents decided to move us from California into the state of Nevada, where I looked like me, the only me, for a long, long time, but I'm gifted to be able to speak pretty well English, right, without any accent. And that comes from the environment that I was raised in. And even when someone of my nature came into our school, I couldn't adapt with them because they had no ability to speak English. Culturally, they weren't Americanized. And by that point, I was Americanized. And, I've always been adventurous a little bit, and I've always had that free spirit in life. And, my cards dealt me to be a young mom at the age of 17. And, my partner was young, and we had to grow up, and I had to be raised in those trenches trying to find jobs, and people telling me, no, you're not qualified. And in my head, I'm thinking, what do you mean? I'm a mom. I'm a multitasker. I can type. I know, and this was back in the day where Wi-Fi made that you know what I mean? I'm almost 51 years of age, and then I've had a couple people that crossed my path. And, being a young mom, I had a mentor who literally took me to the Salvation Army because my parents, as supportive as I was, culturally, they weren't having it. They said, you got 30 days by the time we come back from Salvador, you got to be gone, sister. And, what do you do at the age of 17, 18? You have to be smart. And I chose to be smart, and I had goals in my life with my kids, one, raising them in an environment that wasn't negative. I didn't want bugs. I didn't want crime, and that I was going to work, and that I was going to be in the system for 1 year. When I say the system, meaning the food stamps, the Medicaid, all of that. I had no car. I used to have to get on a transportation city fare bus and have to go 1 hour one way and change buses and one way the other way just to get groceries with two kids on the bus. Because, yes, my brain said I needed another kid for whatever reason, right? So, my upbringing and career, I, got smart and said, okay, I'm going to try some college out while my kids were going to Head Start. Had another great mentor who showed me the 1, 2, 3 times out, because in my culture, we don't believe in the 1, 2, 3 time out, right? We believe in and I'm not saying anything and you can't talk back to me, right? So I've learned a lot of my skills from mentors, Head Start teachers. Then I got my link in being able to move to Northwest Arkansas at a time where the Napa Valley flooded, and my other half was working as a painter. And if you flood, you can't paint anymore. So we decided to be adventurous and pack up in the biggest U-Haul, sell our car, and travel cross country to Northwest Arkansas. And the opportunities opened. I, started to work in the business sector, had opportunities to be part of the chambers, uh, meeting employers, doing tours of their plant, being headhunters, being management of a financial company, right? All learning and hands-on experience. And then, I applied about over 20 years ago for an office, position in a hospital that led me to communicate with HR, Steve Percival, who I always give kudos to because he was HR compliant, factual, no matter what. And he gave me the opportunity to listen to me when they needed an interpreter. I went to them and said, I can't be an interpreter, but I can help design a language program. And he gave me that empowerment to do so. And I learned so much from just that opportunity. And then as you grow and as you coordinate and, have events, you learn and you come to a point where I knew I wasn't going to be CEO of a hospital. I knew I didn't want to be a doctor. I knew I didn't want to be a nurse, but I knew that there was a niche out there for someone to keep pushing forward in at least medical interpreting training. And that's how AHA Interpreting Solutions came about, was having a dream, coming back from a language access event and having my cup full again and thinking, what is going to be my next move? But it wasn't one of my to doings. I think it was someone from higher above because at that time it was where all the medical industries were letting go of their workers. They were cutting back. And every July in the summertime, I would always take a family vacation. That was something that I worked hard with. We would pack our kids and drive cross country to the West Coast. And I got called up in July after we had a new administration change and I was let go randomly. But before then, I had already registered my LLC, started working on my curriculum. So things happen for a reason. And then we landed our first 500 Fortune company who exposed me to all the educators out there, adult educators, all of those incumbent workers, all the LEPs out there, limited English workers who work in the front lines, learned all about them, helped execute a huge education, and then apprenticeship came into my path. And I haven't looked back as well. So that's kind of a little story of who I am and how I came to be. And I look forward to kind of seeing where I'm going to be, every year, because every year something is always changing.
That's so inspirational. I had goosebumps as you were sharing your personal journey. First of all, let me say thank you. It's not a trivial thing. A lot of guests come on the show and share where they came from and how they arrived to where they are today. But that is a huge opening of the heart and a huge personal sharing. And I just want to say thank you and I appreciate it. And as I am sure that our audience does too. I want to ask what you would advise 20-year-old Iliana.
Wow, it actually even makes me get a little emotional. Um, I would say just to keep on pushing, that things aren't as hard as they seem to be, and that there's people out there that are fair.
Iliana, thank you so much. I appreciate you and I appreciate everything you do. And I said it at the beginning, but I'll say it again now. Iliana and her team, they work from the heart, and what they provide is truly for the betterment of communities, and that's the reason we love them. Thank you so much, Iliana. I appreciate
Thank
you
you so
joining the show.
much. Thank you. Thank you.